So welcome everyone to NextCorps. Some of you have heard of it before. We used to be known as High Tech Rochester. We've been in this space about 7 years at this point. This is the Sibley building. For those of you who know Rochester, this was a department store. And we have joined it as we have remade it into its apartments. Now there's architecture firms here. What is NextCorps? Why NextCorps? What are we doing here? We do a whole bunch of things, and I'll run through them all really quickly. If you have any questions about any of them, let me know later. We have incubation, we have accelerators, we are the NEP Center for the Finger Lakes. So I'm just going to go through and explain what these are. So NEP, the New York State Manufacturing Extension Partnership, is here to support small and medium manufacturers, so up to about 500 employees. We are the NEP Center for the Finger Lakes region. New York State is divided into 10 regions and one NEP above all of them. NEP is funded federally through NIST, and then New York State also kicks in funding. So the NEPs are a great resource if you have a small manufacturer. Anybody who's producing anything, people frequently don't understand what manufacturing is. We find people that are bottling grandma's sauce, they don't realize they're a manufacturer. They think of manufacturing as hardware, gears, and so we try to support them, we get grants for them, help them with workforce development. So that is one mission that NextCorps has. We also run a bunch of accelerators, and the one that Julia connected to us through was Illuminate. Because this is Rochester and optics, photonics, imaging, we are pretty much the world center for that. We run an accelerator for companies focused on that. To get accepted in the Illuminate program, it's very competitive, but once you're in, you immediately get $100,000 in investment, and you have a chance to compete for $1 million prize. And then some smaller prizes, and by smaller I mean $500,000 or $250,000. So if you know of anybody that has an optics, photonics, imaging company, startup that is looking to be part of a program like that, please let us know. Applications are open. We're always looking for new companies to work with. We get companies from around the world. Part of the program involves them coming to Rochester 1 week a month during the program. Our goal is to always connect them to companies in Rochester, to resources in Rochester, because we want to stay the world leader in optics and photonics and imaging. We also run a couple programs for NYSERDA, Venture Climate Scale for Climate Tech. These all work with companies that have a climate tech product, whether it's solar, whether it's something that enables wind or some other climate technology. We try to help them. Ventures for earlier stage software companies, hardware companies, it doesn't matter. We try to help them get started. Scale is for companies that are ready to scale up their manufacturing. So we really want them to get a certain TRL level and MRL level and help them connect with contract manufacturers and suppliers. Our goal is always to connect these companies to somebody in the Rochester area if we can, or definitely in New York State. We're very focused on trying to bring business to New York State. Aside from those programs, we have NextCorps itself is set up as an incubator. So we have 70 startups that call us their home. They're associate members. They may pay just to come in and occasionally use a hot desk and use the resources here. Some of them actually have offices here. We have a whole bunch of resources for them. We have a prototyping lab with 3D printers. We have wet labs. We have electronics labs. We have optics labs. We have office space. We have conference rooms. If you're a member, you get access to all of those. There are founders roundtables where you can meet with other startups and talk about issues you've had and see if somebody's there to help. So it's a real community. And out on the wall outside, you can see all the different startups that are currently in residence here.
How much do memberships cost? The
least expensive one where you're just coming in and grabbing a hot desk, so a desk that's not permanently assigned to anyone, is about $150 a month. Which, if you're a startup, that's reasonable. It gets you in. Offices become more expensive, $600 maybe a month. But again, it's less expensive than starting your own office and having the infrastructure around you. So
pay separately for things like lab space and things like that.
There's shared lab space. If you want your own dedicated lab space, you have to pay separately But those are all options. We have companies that do all of those things. They use shared or they pay for their own. Another program we have is that was for Monroe County residents was Embark. We're hoping that maybe we can do that again. It's a no-code software developer program. We had an initial boot camp of maybe 100 people where they learned no-code tools. So make your own website, make your own app. Just an exposure to all the tools that were out there. Then we down selected to about 20 companies that really wanted to start a business, and they are still meeting now. Many of them have started their own businesses. Some of them then join as associate members. So we like to work within the Rochester and Monroe County community to help startups from the local community as well as programs like Luminate that are international. We have a general manufacturing accelerator. It doesn't matter what your technology is. If you have a product if you have an idea and you want to learn the technology, the terminology, what's a bill of material, what's a bill of process, what are quality systems, we have online curriculum that's free. Anybody can sign up for it. We try to connect them to mentors, to funding where possible. And then we're also a new initiative we've got some grant money from the Department of Energy to try to make Rochester a clean energy manufacturing hub. We have a lot of clean energy companies here already. We have resources that are very beneficial to clean tech companies. Kodak still has all their roll-to-roll equipment, which is spectacular for somebody who's starting up a thin film solar company or battery technology. We have battery resources here. So our goal is to try to get these companies to come and start their companies here because we have resources for them. Eastman Business Park has a tremendous number of startups that have been there. They've been in maybe one of our programs, learned about it. They rent out office space and try to start their companies here because of the resources. So why are we doing all this for startups in Rochester? It's affordable here. We have federal opportunity zones here. We have space in existing manufacturing buildings like Eastman Business Park. So we think we're just a really good place for startups to come and start their businesses because of the resources here. We have the supply chain resources that we're here to support all the accidents, zero accidents. So we have the people, we have highly educated, skilled workforce. We have the local universities, and then we have a bunch of community resources to help with workforce development. And NextCorps tries to help with all of that for startups, for small and medium manufacturers. So.
Okay, perfect. So nice to have you guys here. So my name is Julia. I know Sue, Ken, Jim, or I mean, Jim is there. So probably got a chance to talk to everyone to figure out your background. But it's really nice to have everyone here. I was at MIT at the microsystem laboratory for 40 years, so that was a really great event. Have any of you joined that event? What event? The great event. It's a R&D MIT R&D conference. So I got a chance to connect with a lot of friends there, and I learned a little bit what's going on, why MIT invested in the microsystem in the past years. So today I want to talk about Labby and in general the ag dairy industry, how we use technology to transform the dairy industries. So this is today's agenda. First, it's just a quick view of my background, and I want to give a little more broad overview of ag tech, innovation overview. Then before I shift into how Labby solved the old and tough industry issues, and the last is as an entrepreneur, what is the lesson learned from it in the past 5 years? Okay, is that right? I want to show you try to tell me something.
No, that's good.
Okay, so just a quick about myself. So I'm not sure I have a typical or non-typical experience, but I'm an entrepreneur, engineer turned entrepreneur. So my undergrad study is EE. I got my undergrad education in China, came here in the end of 1999, right before the 2000. Then I worked for basically Fortune 500 companies, defense company, the General Dynamics, Harris, now it's L3 Harris. But my first career is in the satellite. So today everyone knowing the Starlink from Elon Musk. But that's my first job, starting design and build high-speed internet wireless satellite, because back then, in the early 1990s, there are no high-speed internet. Everything, if you want to do remote ticket, the information, news, is all through satellite. So it's kind of funny, 20 years is the cycle, because in the end of 1999, nobody wanted to build satellite anymore. So I switched to the GSM. So that's why I started work for, the General Dynamics, AT&T, because the GSM was new trend. So it's just a whole cycle. So my experience with the Fortune 500 company is I wear many hats. Start from an engineer, turn into a project manager. I also did bid, RFP bid. That means I'm responsible for 75% all the solutions, from the technical, financial projections, financial analysis. So that gave me a heck of experience. And I think that experience really taught me a lot how to run a startup, right? There's a lot of bureaucratics is in big corporate, but you really get a good mentor. You learn what's efficiency, the process, which really helped me to adapt those experience into the startups. Then I went to MIT in 2013. That's where I met my co-founder, Ahmed. So, which is a life-changing experience for me, because I didn't know anything about the startup. Then half of my classmates they're doing the startup. It's really like favorite. I volunteered for 1 year for student clubs, startup clubs. Learn everything about volunteer, how to raise money. I was the sponsorship VP, raised the most money for the club that year, and also got a chance to meet a lot of VCs, startup on backstage, made friends with them. So that really opened my door. So I think the big lesson is sometimes you gotta give before you take. So my experience, I learned so much by volunteer. So overview of the ag tech innovation. So it's kind of exciting, but also scary. By 2030, the global population will reach over 9.8 trillion people, and you're gonna have, I think the number now more, probably 70% demand for food, 70% increased demand for protein, and we know dairy is still the most nutrient-dense product on the earth, right? So a lot of talk about non-dairy, other things, but my goal always, if we have these dairy cows, we make them more efficient. What heck we go to non-dairy? It's not nutrients friendly. It's not really good for the earth. When you look at everything added to the process. So here, really, in the past, I would say 5 to 10 years, we have seen a lot of disruptive technology. You probably heard of precision dairy, precision ag. Everything demands more efficiency, innovation, data is the big things. Here's an interesting chart from McKinsey. This is back in, I think, 2015. It's based on the, digitization index. From there, you can see construction, probably the least digitized, the next probably agriculture. But I think things have changed in the past 10 years quite a lot. So once the Time magazine just have released 200 innovations, 2024, and the ag company made 6 of them, which is amazing, right? Because climate change is real. More and more us realize climate, more unpredictable weather, storms, the heat, Rochester is November, we haven't seen snow yet. So that's a good thing for us, for any ag startup. The timing is better. Compare where we started the company. Antiquated started the company 5 years ago in 2017. It's really extremely difficult, right? In terms of funding, what we had to educate people, what we do. But I would say I was in 2024, we were in the World Dairy Expo, and we don't have to teach people what we do anymore. People say, can you help us? Where to buy them? You see the change, the mentality change over the past 5 years. It is very impressive. So one thing I think in the space where we are, particularly dairy, is dairy has for the past 50 years, the industry depends on big laboratory, right? Very high-end equipment, but also very labor intensive, require a lot of special knowledge. In the dairy is a very complex system. I would say, you look at it from animal input perspective, you have animal feed, animal genetic company, animal nutrients company, because the cow is like workforce as a human, right? The worst part is they cannot take holidays. Once you get into lactation, they have to be milk every day, 3 times or twice a day. But over the past few years, there is a well-established industry. From here you can look at diet formulation, fertility, milk quality, milk quantity, their disease, animal disease, how to integrate the weather, right, to make the product more comfortable. They invent a lot of new things for cow, like back scratch, the weather monitor technologies. But that's also helped brew a lot of startups. When you look at the whole space here, there is I'm going to go over some of them. Okay, so there is I think I don't know, probably thousands or tens of thousands startups just invented format to address the different problems in different sectors here. Labby is aware in animal disease, milk quality, try to solve the milk quality issues. So here I want to give you a few examples of the dairy technology, which I just mentioned here. Robotic, there is probably top 10 trends in the ag space, ag dairy space. I would say number 1 is robots, right? So particularly down, I know that we just talked about. Labor shortage is a real challenge, particularly after COVID, right? There are also immigration policies, because honestly, 10% of the population is feeding 90% population. And the 10% population ag work is a lot of immigrant, right? So, and another thing is in the ag, the dairy got bigger and bigger. So the industry been going through the consolidation in the past few decades. So now, I would say 5 years ago, I can find a farm have a couple hundred cows, right? Now you drive in New York State, you probably don't see them, very few of them, right? Just because by scale of economy, the small farms are hard to survive. Naturally, you got a best benefit economy scale at 3,000, 4,000 cows per farm. I mean, there's a lot of debate, a lot of things it is debate over is a small farm better or a big farm better. I mean, from an environmental perspective, definitely bigger farm is more efficient, right? You have a lot of family farm like India, China is not anymore, it become industrial farm, but those farms actually have generate a lot more methods into environment. But that's a separate debate. So robotics is a big thing. So here you have a Lilly, you have a dependable, which is a Swedish company. You have a Bomatic, US, Canada company. So 10% in the US is dairy farm is using robots. We think that the number will increase over time when the robots can handle more dairy cows. Traditional robots handle smaller farms, like 100 cows maximum per robot, right? But robotic company also innovation, they're changing that. So now you have a bigger industry robot can handle a lot more bigger herds. So this is some picture. Dependable is one of our partners. That's how typically the robots works. Cow come in, cow can this like on demand milking. The cow can go in anytime they want to be milked, rather than have a follow schedule, right? So this is the Lilly robots. Lilly is quite popular in the US because they have a better, not because their machine's better, they have a better support. I think if you have 20 Lilly service center within 20 miles of your farm, farm more likely can buy that robot rather than another one. So customer service is a big thing in ag dairy. Another is big trend is the IoT sensor, which we fall in this category, right? So a lot of sensors today, and you probably see the kind of have colors. that color actually tell the rumination, the heat pattern heated the cow when ready to get pregnant, right? They also have the bolus, which is inside the first stomach of cow, tell you all the rumen temperature, pH, other disease indicator as well, right? So there is also Fitbit for cow. They have ear tag that as well that tell you also the pattern footprint. They monitor their movement. So we're monitor with the unique the milk quality is type of, we call them the optical sensor, bring the invisible signal from milk into the visible signal that farmer can understand. So this is a few company who's in this space. One of the big one is SER. I think they work with the Dairy One partner as well. Here we say that just skip this one. Milk is Israel company. So next is the computer vision. This also huge because when the farmer gets bigger and bigger, now you talk about not hundreds, tens, you talk about thousands, 3,000, 4,000. So computer vision help to monitor the cow become critically important. So number one, for example, this company is from Kansas, who later got bought by a big private equity company. So what they do is they have this feed camera, right? Because feed is important for cow. That's how much it eat. If the feed have enough feed in front of cow, in terms of the farm technician manager feeding the cow on time, and you can't really monitor this by humans, right? So they use the camera also monitor lying time for cow. The cow really need to have enough lying down time because that's how they turn the feed into the milk, right? So all this down today on the part of is the camera. They also monitor mass, body mass. So many things what we're doing for humans, like ICU, whatever, we're doing, apply, transform those experience technology in ag space, in dairy space, which is really amazing. So here is one of the camera, they have a facial camera. We actually also introduced our own camera solutions. All this will be automatically analyzed, low feed condition, farmer will get a alert. But when you ask them what a farmer really like this, right? They said that they like the peace of mind. The same thing now say to our solutions, because next morning, even another night before, when they replay the video, even alert, they know if the cow would have enough feed, which is really, when you look at technology in the end, is you can talk about features, but really, does this improve your customer life? Does it make it improve their efficiency? Bottom line, does this give them peace of mind, right? And that's critical for our customers. So I think this is another one. They monitor the cow's behavior, the drinking, eating, lying. The next trend is artificial intelligence, right? They're every day, I don't have to go through the numbers, but data is a new oils. How you generate data and use data, mining data, definitely give you a competitive advantage in the next decade. But for dairy farmer, for consumer today, we are taking for granted because we have an Apple Watch, we have electronic health records, right? All that for the past 10 years. We have a benefit a lot because today we have many advanced treatment, right? Leveraged by the data, population data, new discovery. But for ag and dairy, data collection is still very difficult. That is actually what Labby does, really. So this is how we started. And when we 5 years ago, when we started, Anshman and I started the company, we got approached by many companies. Water company, can you test water quality in the wilderness, right? When people go hiking, can you tell the chemical oil quality? So for turbine, when they change the quality, the oil, do they shut down? So critical downtime, they do. We also tried the medical device with the MDH, right? But one thing that really got our attention is when dairy people reach us, can you do this, right? And then now, Anshman and I come from non-dairy background, so that was really good learning period. But one thing I had in my mind is, I think this part of education, the DNA, right? You innovate for purpose, innovation for purpose. So for me, that I think made a huge difference when I look at which is our commercialization opportunity, right? I'm not interested app, I'm not interested in hobbies. I look at where the next industry, next big industry trend, transformation opportunities, right? When you look at today, people say ag, dairy contribute 1/3 of the greenhouse emission. So that got them attention. And when you look at the industry, here I'm going to talk about quickly is, let me jump to the slide a little bit on the invest order. Here you can see that, just the median herd size had increased about 80s from 1987 to 1,300 in 2017. But the cow production, the milk yield production capability has doubled. That's why today we have fewer cows, but the cow can produce a lot of milk, right? One thing I want to say is milk quality is critical. So indicator for animal health and milk components and the payment proof. One of the big challenges we learned from our customer in the early days is today, the industry still depends on very old-fashioned lab-centered milking testing system. So what it does is the technician from the lab, they drive around like UPS drivers, just drive to all their member farms, right? And go there, gather 2 a.m., set up all the equipment, and then manually get a milk sample from each cow, right? It's no, don't want to say dirty words. It's not life anyone can imagine. So if they spend a good 8 hours, 10 hours per person technician, all they do is just put in the milk sample in a crate, send it back to lab. That's where, not directly lab, central collection station, there another driver to pick up those samples, send it back to the lab for final processing, right? So you can see it's very labor intensive and expensive, time consuming, but also, I think one big thing kind of data in oil. Because it's such the process, pharma only offer testing for each individual farm once a month, every 4 to 6 weeks. But these people that drive everywhere every day, right? I would say six days a week because just not enough technicians, right? So one thing for farmer, when you look at industry level, you really only got one data point every 4 to 6 weeks. So you're going to talk about machine learning, big data, it doesn't exist here, right? So you miss a critical data generation opportunity here for dairy. And the rest really, we look at how we can get data, do frequent automatic milk testing. That is opportunity we look at. Okay, there's a big gap here. What we can do? That's where entrepreneurs started. So let's bring the lab technology to the farm, bring the data, and automatic milk testing to the dairy industry, right? So that's really support precision dairy, precision ag, and also in the meantime, we also help reduce all the transportation related greenhouse emissions, right? Because we can naturally, probably less than 20% of cow, their milk sample need to be sent to lab for further evaluation. But today they do it for 100%, right? So what we do really is at the farm level, quick screening, quick detection. So I call them point of care testing, right? Similar, that's what we do. We're bringing that traditionally not available, only lab available technology to the farm. So farmer can get a better data-driven insight, help them to better manage their operation, improve the animal health, increase their profitability, at the same time reduce their environmental impact on the earth. I know I jumped back and forth a little bit. I think that should be fine. So here I want to just, we talk about data here. Here we talk about, so this is really what we do. So we, Labby, we provide an end-to-end milk testing solution for the dairy industry using spectroscopy, high-speed image sensing, and fluorescence. So today we monitor basic 3 metrics, which are critical to the industry: butterfat, protein, which is Also give you indicator for feed efficiency, but there's a payment. Today farmer got paid by milk components. We also provide certain animal biomarkers, disease biomarkers. Today we focus on mastitis, right? Because that's the most common and expensive disease for the dairy industry. I mean, when you look at when the cow has the other infection, what consequences is reduced milk yield, reduce lower milk quality, increase milk treatment, which is also elevate antibiotic use, right? That really impact to the human. So that's why in Europe today there is a big concept called One Health. Before we say animal health doesn't matter, right? But it's still connected. It's a food chain. So how we manage the antibiotic use in animals, right? Directly come back to the food chain. Even the milk disregarded when the poor milk going to soil everything, right? So best way is have this personalized medicine. Figure out which cow really truly needs that medicine, which cow doesn't really need. The 50% cow they would self-cure by themselves, right? So our solution, you can see the hardware, software, cloud-based software, AI is a big thing in order for us to give accurate results. Half the equation is the hardware, and then the half is AI, data, generation modeling. So this is our current product. We have a portable that's portable we're really for animal feed company, but on the middle and the right, that's our robotic device being used on the robotic farm. That's what down in brother use. Likely we can offer that. So inline machine is when the cow walk into the parlor, our system paired with RFID, so we know which cow is coming in. By the time they finish milking, which normally about 5 minutes, by the time they're leaving, we will produce the results for that cow. So this is how we can significantly reduce the testing time from days, months to just under 15 seconds, right? So here, data is, we have our backend, we call transforming dairy analytics. In the old days, you can see everything just like Windows based. You had export them, download them. But today we organize the backend, you can see is by insight driven, right? What cow need the most, which cows are, what group level, pet level need the most attention. So we bring those up. We also provide analytics, tell farmer what are risk score for the herd, right? Which cow. We also tell them, what's the payment, what your payment should look like based on herd performance, right? So that's where I gave a peace of mind for the dairy farmer. They know everything on their farm, right? I mean, because for farmer is they don't want the cow from sick cow going into the bulk tank, because once you go into bulk tank, dilution becomes a solution. You really count that. But if a cow has a high somatic cell count, which is the mastitis indicator, that the dilution doesn't work anymore. Your bulk tank average significantly increase. Reduce in milk quality. Your payment will suffer directly from that. So data is, because the data we generate, I would say we want to transform animal health, just like how the data helped transform the human health in the past 20 years, right? And the data, milk is very rich materials in terms of biomarker with animal disease, milk quality. So by mining those biomarkers from the milk directly, that gave us potential to unlock power to predict animal disease, predict feed efficiency, which is not currently available. The most important is the genetic performance. Today, the cow actually have a genetic score. But that's I would say one-time model, right? You're gonna evaluate how that model performs over the lifetime of the cow, right? You need a feedback loop. Today you don't have feedback. You got it once a month. So with our data, we can really connect dots between genetic traits and their performance, which is the milk quality, right? So that is our data also get a lot of attention from animal genetics company, which is one of our investors, animal feed company, health companies, because they all realize data give them a competitive edge in the next decade. There's with the data, we start from dairy farmers, focus on mastitis, milk quality, feed efficiency, but we also look into dairy co-op and dairy processors, right? Particularly for dairy co-op today, when the driver show up, it's blind, they don't know anything. They just pick up a milk from the bulk pen, take some examples, but that's too late. Then when we go back, when they do analysis, that if there are contamination, they have to go back and figure out which farm caused contamination based on the farm, the sample they collected, right? Then the farmer caused the contamination will pay for the whole, if the milk tank come from 5 to 10 farms, they pay for the penalty for the whole loss. That can be $20, $30,000 just for that, right? Because that's directly, particularly antibiotic residue detection, right? That's important. So particularly if you can test that antibiotic residue level threshold when the driver picks the milk, you can reduce all the drama, right? If the milk should be rejected right on the farm, the loss there, farmer can use the milk, repurpose the milk for their calf, so they don't have to pay for this big hefty financial penalties. Yeah. And processor, the same thing. On the dairy processor, different batch from different farm, how you source them, how you need a big data. So we are looking to work with when Fairlife, they come here, they have factory will be ready next year. Fairlife very much interested in the energy and availability. They want to know the source of the milk, how good the milk. That's why they're really interested in our technologies, because we provide the cow by cow, farm by farm visibility for them. Okay. So lesson learned, I think that's the core of today. What have we learned in the past 5 years? The big story I want to say, I was to give a story. Mark is one of our first customer. He's based in Massachusetts. He's the director for local small dairy co-ops. So when we met him in 2018, he said, Julia, I don't want a toy. I want something actually work on the farm, right? When you say the farm environment, you can say it's not pretty. It is not dirty, but it's tough environment. Your device had to survive there, right? So that's make farmer, I would say why they, there are a lot of technology invention, but why the technology adoption is slow. Because the farmer don't want to deal with the hassles, right? They're not a consumer. For consumer, we're trying a new tech. The cost of it's is small, the inconvenience, but for farmer, it's not, So that is one thing we learned. In order to convince farmers to use, you gotta build your product ready for, wear and tear for the farm, waterproof, environment proof, that's critical, right? Another is slow down adoption is the complex agriculture dairy systems. Many of our investors, if not coming from non-dairy, we had to educate them because I would say most people don't know how milk comes from, even including myself. And no idea. So naturally they would have, the cautious, because they don't understand how the value system in the dairy space. That's slowed down because we have less money than consumer debt. That's also slowed down our technology development. But the good thing is we become really capital efficient. Anshan and I, we learned the tricks, how to move faster. We hire people with at least 2 domain background. If you come from like our mechanical, he's also can do the PCB, debug. Our optical engineer pick up a Mackie, solid work, can do on picture, right? So myself, Anshan, we can do multiple things. Next thing is another, I think, slow down adoption is from prototype to production, right? I think Elon said this. I think he said this similar. Creating prototype is straightforward. If you're brilliant, if you're smart, intelligent, you can create something. But producing reliable and affordable product at a scale, that's a challenge. We learn that every day. Every day. When they design something, are they able to scale down the cost without sacrifice the performance, right? And can we find a reliable manufacturer like this? Because eventually, if you can deliver the product at an affordable price to your customer, nobody can pay for it. So next, I think I learned is this is positive. we learned is farmer life, they follow each other, which is good. If you have a successful pilot, send the positive words to the community, people come to you. So we have lots of farmers come to us from their neighbors, right? So both you can do both positive, both negative here. So this is worth, I guess they said turning hurdles into opportunities. What we think we did right is in the beginning as a non-dairy kid, MIT people always say, MIT doing dairy, why? I've been asked that question 100 times. I might give lots of things. I would say one thing is I had to credit my grandpa. I didn't know that because, sometimes life is following a circle. My grandpa is a farmer, not dairy farmer. I spent my, teenager years in the summer just help my grandpa. I did the harvesting. He didn't have a machine back then. Back then with the hands, oh my goodness. I was probably 13, 14. I mean, that really gave me appreciation how hard the farmers earn their livings, right? And that really helps me to understand, even coming from MIT, Amsha and I, we were always people say, you guys so humble, smart, they like to share with us. I think that really made a difference. We believe technology has a magic coming from MIT, but we do not take for granted that technology can solve everything. You need domain knowledge. Where you get domain knowledge from your customer, respect them and learn from them. And farmer we met, most farmers super intelligent. They know everything. They know more than what we know, right? Because the life on in other managed farm, they can learn everything, right? Another is a robust hardware for farmer conditions. So I think today we have a third generation. We're working on that our new product. People say startup should focus on, be very focused, and we learned that doesn't work for dairy. It's very risky. I will write an article that's not true, right? Because it's very risky, cheap. Like the dairy in the past 5 years, the value proposition has changed from original. They want mastitis detection. Now they want feed efficiency, and now you want with the net zero goal, they want a methane reduction monitor tools. So if you as a startup, you bet everything in one basket. You have to be really lucky. You hit the right lottery ticket, right? So for us, we diversify a little bit. You can see we have a different product. Our product really, the core here is we build a platform, right? We can pivot quickly rather than just one product. If we're bad or wrong, we're down, right? So I think that Anshana made a lot of right decisions. Build a platform we can pivot quickly based on the different features. But regardless, hardware companies very difficult. I can say this, it's not glorious. I can say today is a miracle. We survived the 5 years. Today we still, operating, have people, and it's a miracle. It's against all the odds. We're still here today. Another we learned is academic and global collaboration, right? And because a dairy background, in order to build trust, you need credibility. So we build the credibility with our local partner, like Dairy One, right? They're our partner for the past 5 years, offer us access to their member farm, to the lab, so we can build our model. We work with Cornell as well, Professor Julio Giordano. Not only he also provides a lot of farm access, but his knowledge, his students, also work with Cornell, build the credibility. Because farmers look up to Cornell. Cornell have their social media communication on their website, right? And that's a big credibility boost for us. We also try to work with the partner with the dairy providers in different sectors. Fully understand what each company in sector, what's their key value proposition, what do you provide them, right? What triggered them to have this partnership? I think we did well. So today we have pretty much partnership with every sector, feed company, house company, milking companies, right? Even the dairy co-op companies. So that help you to facilitate your go-to-market strategy, which is really helpful. I would say this is general with New York, it has 4 pillars, right? Ag, optics, I think, manufacture, I think they're life science, right? And there are lots of opportunity for ag, because there are 3,000 farms here. Many large dairy farms, they all looking for next generation innovation, help them become more efficient, more profitable, right? I would say survive here as entrepreneur 101 is, they come from everyday learning software, also from a corporate background. I would say efficiency, culture, innovation. Efficiently, what I'm talking, you have a limited resource here, right? You have to be very efficient. That process is focused on, as 5 years ago, when we even just started up, we have a process for project management. Use Monday.com. We use Slack, just like communication. We use payroll. All this work could take your time. You got to think about how you can optimize those so you can use your time, better focus your time for product development, right? So we're well set up as a small startup, very efficient in terms of new employee onboarding, work folder, all the document knowledge management. Even when people leave, we always have the knowledge, people know where to find information. That's critical. Another is the culture. On day one, when my employee join us, I always have to emphasize the culture. Because culture is more important than people, right? And people always say that different priority leave, but culture is actually where I attract people, right? Particularly for startup. You want to attract the best people. Is the culture really attract the best people? Because they're looking for some very difficult, challenge, innovative problem, right? They want to work with their colleague, super smart, intelligent, nice to work. So I spend a lot of time building the culture. So I would say for us, Labby culture is teamwork. This is no small. When hire people, we look at not just skills, we look at the personality. Do they work well? Do they get along well, right? That's a big thing for me. If you don't get along, you can't make family, right? Another is, I would say, innovation. We take risks. I told them I should say that's not the right word, but I call it relentless innovation. We had to just constantly find a way. We're building something really not exist on the market. We don't reinvent physics, right? But what we're building there never exists, right? You still have to figure out the physics, how to build them at a cost-effective and deliver, I would say just work. Fluorescence in milk, for example, is very difficult because a lot of interference in the milk, right? Most people think milk is simple, but there are 500 different proteins in the milk, right? When you do fluorescence, you got a lot of noises. You don't know which is the useful signals, right? So for me, for us, the culture is innovation. We don't say no. We found alternative. We look at also their methodology. We do a lot of landscaping, pattern landscape research, understand what was the pattern found, what people doing there, right? What's the angle? Because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. If something doesn't work, we don't want to avoid that, right? So that's part of the process efficiency and innovation. I think that's all my presentation today. I hope I offer something useful.
Okay, very good for a second. Before we run along, so I didn't see any questions in the chat. Does anybody have any questions? Actually, I've got solve those. Go ahead.
Yeah, do you go back to look at the nutrition, or is that somebody else's job? That how much citrus pulp goes into the feed, how much molasses. Do you do those calculations?
We don't do the kind of, well, what we provide is those months, the nutrients in ultimately they reflect in the milk components, right? We provide those data, but today we don't separate what type of milk, what type of fat, what type of protein. We don't look at what's in that, but we provide that. That's another thing we work with our data scientists, right? We slowly increase in those input variables, right? All that they can look at and look at output. Is there any correlation there? That's we depend on work with our partners, like they have animal feed company trained expert. We work with them, but also AI is also offer a lot of potential to discover unknown, right? But generally, we don't want to step into that. Our advantage is our farm automation data collection, right? And then that is open the opportunity for find a company who invest us, work with us.
A question for Laurel, who's remote today. She watched a question on the
Yeah.
Zoom. She says, actually, Laurel, do you want to read it? If you want to unmute, you can read it for us if you want.
Sure. My question is, how big a difference is the cost from the old style, once a month testing for all of your cows on a typical size farm, let's say, to adopting your system? In other words, how big a step are you asking the farmer to make?
Yeah. So there will be initial investment, hardware investment. So that will be probably around 150, depends on if a robotic farm is really just one robot per device, right? That's only $77. But for double parter, that maybe somewhere depending on the size of farm, that somewhere will be $57 to $257, right? It's a big range. Because our device installed at each milking stations, right? Robots coming at one big milking station. So for robotic farm, it's very efficient. It's less than 20K you would get for the whole year, right? Investment. But for robotic, for a double part or conventional farmer, depending, you heard the double 10, double 20, double 40, means how many milking stations. If a double 40, it means they have 80 milking stations, each 40 at each side, right? So if you want to test every cow, then you need about 80 devices installed at the milking station. So that's very, right? But in terms of monthly fee, we actually charge farmer today to pay membership average about $3 to $5 as a membership per cow per month. They only got the testing once a month, right? So we charge between $1 to $3 depending on the size. They got testing every day. Okay. So that is not always apple to apple, but you can see the frequent testing is the key here. Farmer want more frequent testing because once a month, you test Tuesday, calculating hours by hour. By the next day, the number accuracy doesn't matter anymore.
So the total cost for testing is the same and maybe a little bit less, if I heard you right?
For monthly, it will be less, but for hardware, it will be initial investment.
So they save money by going with this testing.
Yeah. So overall, depending on the farm, you can get the investment back within about a year and a half, right? So it's a shorter investment return windows.
That's great. Also, what has been the pattern of growth in the number of customers? I'm just curious, is it exponential or has it saturated?
So this is our fourth year on dairy. So we started build more like a pilot. So we're in the beginning of the commercialization through our partners, right? Because we don't even have the salespeople. We do our sales right now. Is knock on the door by door is not possible for us. And right now we don't have enough people to support more than 2 pilots. So, we're in the process of fundraising, get more resources and we can increase our, the deployment speed. So hopefully the plan is we're going to get about 20 farms by the end of next year. So that's where we're going to go into Michigan right after Thanksgiving. So that's our first significant corporate pilot project. So that if successful, that opens doors to all the member farm as well.
Do you have other questions?
Are you headquartered here in Rochester, and what's your connection with NextCorps?
Yeah, I moved myself here in the end of last year, right before New Year. So our people, everyone here. We don't have remote people, all the on site. So everyone here. We do have a registration still open in Massachusetts, but our people is we have all the full times here. We have a remote consultant is in Massachusetts, but majority is people here.
So when you say here, you mean literally here?
Literally here. Our office is right down there.
We're gonna tour their
yeah.
offices here.
And then did you get assistance from NextCorps or from other local Rochester?
Yeah, I was great. I should have mentioned that. The reason we moved here because we got so much support from NextCorps, right? Although we had to pay for the office fee, but it's fairly small compared with what I have used to pay in Massachusetts. And you have 3 labs here: the equipment lab, optical lab, and the well lab. And those save us significant in terms of cost, because everything in Massachusetts we had to pay on our own. So that's one like from operation costs, right? And NextCorps provide a lot of. Another is the ecosystems. With the NextCorps introduction, we connect to Tech Rochester, which won the Tech Rochester Best Startup Award. We work with the Rochester Enterprise. With David Grome, he introduced us to the Fairlife as well. So I think we're also work with RT, UR. We hired the students. So I think there's such a great ecosystem here. From academic industry, we also the manufacturer here, a lot of small contract manufacturer here. We're looking to move our manufacturer from West Mass to Rochester region. So and a dairy farm. Dairy, the cows here, yeah, so.
So then Labby was part of Luminate
Yeah.
program in 20.
So we work over 6, numbers were growing, now I don't remember. We work over 6 last year.
And we're recruiting for 8 right now.
Yeah.
Great. Where do you stand on intellectual property? Do you have patents or?
Yes, very good question. I actually have 2 slides there. I didn't go through them. Maybe it's good to review them here. So here we have 2 patents, both granted. We're thinking about 3rd patent. We're focused on animal health, machine learning. We also received the phase 1 and the phase 2 grant from National Science Foundation, which is life saving. Help us also sustain the business. We won the Green New York 2022, the quarter million award. That is also Green New York, the partner with Cornell as well. We were Luminate Cohort 2023 last year. We just got awarded by the New York Innovation Bound Matching 200K. I think they're gonna do a PR soon. We partner here. You can see all the company here. We partner Girl New York, Cornell, Luminate. So one thing we also mentioned, we have been on the news media quite a lot. Rochester, the business journal is Rochester Wall Street Journal, right? I think we were there, and we were on TechCrunch 2022. That's like 1% of startup from all over the world. We're the only dairy company. We were on MIT News a while ago. Our Ford's Dairyman. So a lot of tractions, a lot of hard work, thanks to my team.
Okay, very good.
What do you see any competition coming in this area? You have to be looking.
Yeah,
I see,
competition is that's very subtle relationship because we work with the dairy one, like we work with both Jimmy Zimmerman, he was the former CEO of Lab, then I'm also working with the new CEO, also Jim. I'm friends with both of them. So the one that competitor definitely is current Lab, DHIA, but in the meantime, they also are current. So the people always ask them why they work with us. I'm just called one of the the quote from Jim Zimmerman, who was the former CEO for Dairy. He said, I would rather embrace technology than passively disrupt it because the way you cannot reverse. If change coming, sooner or later, either get on wave or be disrupted, right? So, but that also doesn't mean it's easy because, everyone want to hold on their things. For everyone, there are a lot of technicians, those are their job skills, how they repurpose, rework. So it's a very subtle topic, right? But, we work them and also, they're competitive as well. The farmer either use their DHI lab or use us, right? So, but, we work that well. with digital lab, with where you're automatic worker on the farm. So you don't have to send a technician. That state you maybe you lose the revenue, but you save the cost there. Ultimately, you have enough work for everyone. You can repurpose the people rather than drive everywhere every day, right? So in the end, I think it's a win-win, but still take time to get people to adapt that.
I think that we should get on. Any
I have
other
another
questions?
question. So the people, once you collect all this information, are you trying to synthesize it for the dairy farmer to use? Because you have varying degrees of capabilities on these farms, right? You know, you have some farmers who are very savvy, understand, you know, technology and computer systems, and others who are less so.
Yeah.
So how do you try to navigate that?
Today, if you can use a cell phone, you can see the test results on your smartphone, right? And but additionally, in terms of insight, that's where we partner with the animal feed company, animal health company. Those are not our domain expertise, right? So by share our data with those people, but also in return, ask them to share their data with us. That's 1 + 1 is greater than 2, right? So that's where big data, we can really unlock the potentials, what means data potentials. So for that, every day we provide the app, people can see that on the portal browser, they can see results. We also offer data exchange through API. So if farmers already have their own herd management system, they can plug our data, the system can plug our data into theirs, right? So people have just one place, look at all the data rather than different applications. Yeah. So collaboration is important, right? You want to have your competitive edge, but you still have to figure out a way to work with everyone because
Yeah, I was struck by the early discussion where they're measuring everything about the cow, heart rate, how many steps are taken, but they're not measuring the important thing, which is the product, the dairy. And so, so the fact that you're measuring the dairy just seems like there's so much of a data opportunity to feedback and combine it with all these other things they're measuring and try to get a correlation of how do you optimize the other things the feed, and steps, and temperature, and everything to get the best product.
So the other way we encourage people to share their data, right? Our product, I think, is probably most difficult from that. Other sensor, I think they're generally, I won't say easy, but it's temperature sensors, right? Those data we normally ask for them to share the data with us. But there's also dominant. There's the herd management. One company they dominate all the data because if that's farmer use, right? They have that monopoly power. They ask for everyone to integrate the data. So finding one that the industry partner who willing to share all the data, so you don't have to go every company to ask them to share data, right? So that's our strategy basically. We give our data. Our data probably the most difficult to generate data on the farm. Your total bolus is relatively easy, right? The sensor color is relatively easy, but everyday data is most crucial. So we have that bargain power to ask people to share data with us. So the goal is to share data, combining data. But in terms of who's going to have more monopoly power, who's going to hold the most cow data, I think a lot of dynamics there,